Nairy, the
Yeah.
first time I heard about you, I was with Julie Méretou,
Yes.
and in fact, she decided to do a video with me with your work in the back.
Wow, that's
It was,
beautiful.
yeah, very beautiful. And in fact, it was at Marian Goodman Gallery. I think you wanted to pay an homage to Marian Goodman, right?
We
Before we
always
start.
do, right? But today, I don't actually, I could have a work of Julie in the background, but it's traveling. It's an exhibition right now, and I'm happy that it's traveling, that it can be shared with a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a joy to work with Julie. And it was, I mean, working with other artists and especially French, it expands our understanding of art. And we're not only focused on ourselves in this little world. And we need windows to look outside. And her work and working with her, one of the nicest, how do you say that, views to the outside.
So you are part of a team at the Goodman Gallery, right?
Um, we are friends, and but it's not in the way that you would think of clique. How do you say that in German? Like a clique, like a grouping fixed one. I'm not a big fan of them because I'm always also scared of the dynamic of groups that everyone has to agree. And the beauty of art is we can be friends, but we can have very different thinking and practice, and we can contradict and then come on the table and sit together. But there is a choice, and especially in Marian Goodman's gallery, is a huge choice. The artists are amazing, and the last years, Julia and I came very close, and we collaborated together, and we share our view of the world, and that is important.
Um, I went to see your exhibition in Belgium, in Brussels, and I thought, where does she come from? Her world is so special. So I would like to begin with the start and how you became an artist, but in a very short.
Okay. There there are many steps how I become an art. I became an artist. First, I was young. I was born in Iran, and in a very liberal household. Like my family, my mother was into poetry. My sister stopped her gymnasium, started studying, again going to an art school in very young years. She's 10 years older, but that was all before the revolution. And suddenly, after the revolution, everything collapsed and the mullahs took over. And the first thing they get rid of was art and culture and music for sure, especially for women. And then I came to Berlin and I felt the necessity. I was 13, and it was not easy for everybody to get out of that tyranny, and the country felt like the largest jail on earth. So we made it out luckily, and in Berlin, I was optimistic. I was young, and I knew that I was very much interested in culture, something that was taken away from a generation, and they're still fighting for it. And it seems there is no end for it. But I was the lucky one that could get out, and I wanted to appreciate my opportunities, and I embraced it. And I went a lot to see films. My first movie that I saw, it was in Charlottenburg in Berlin, where I'm based. It was Oscar Wilde, 1, 2, 3, and I just wanted to learn the language. And but luckily, I was obsessed, and I liked German, which is very uncommon for people coming to Berlin or Germany. The first thing that they say, they like the language. But in my family, I was really the one that I did like the sound of it. So I digged into theater, dance, and yeah, the stage was, and film, of course. But at the time, art was not, Berlin was not the center for the art. I remember the first largest memory that I have of an exhibition was Paul Tech at the Neue Nationalgalerie, and that must have been, I don't know, 94, 95, like quite
But not bad, right?
Paul Tech. It was a gift. It was all there, but I needed it. And different materials, different approach to sculpture. So it was, yeah, a mix of Paul Tech, then looking at um, theater of how could I like Heiner Müller to later to Polish to dance of Merce Cunningham to Yvonne Rainer to Martha Graham. All of that was in Berlin.
So yes, but how do you arrive to sculpture?
Oh, in the 90s, I have to say, but like the object of art was very much rejected in the discussion how we look at art. So anti-object was certainly in the center of the discussion. And whenever things are rejected, subjects are rejected. I don't know why, but it really attracts me. I just want to know why things are rejected. And so I start digging into it. And sculpture in general is a very complicated matter. It's stubborn. It's you start somewhere, you miss the other part, and like missing, finding, going like there's almost nothing finished at the end unless you describe it as finished. You have to make a decision, but the sculpture itself allows you to dig into it from different perspectives, and that was aligned with my own thinking and searching in life. So
And you made your own culture about sculpture. Who was the artist who became references for you?
um yeah, references, or let's say, yeah, there were so many. I could go on and on and on and say like
No, you're not allowed.
changes all the time, but I could just go from Donatello to Medaro Rosso when you travel to North Italy. You can go to Paul Tech and Bruce Nauman that I adore. Then it's Chapochnikov that I was obsessed.
That one understands that. What about Jean Arp?
Jean Arp, Martin Poirier, Duchamp, Lawrence Vina. I mean, the list could go long. David Hammonds. Who else? There are so many. Um, Gober. So there, it changes. Things come and go. But I have to say, especially because in the last couple of days, I should say, and this person is not an artist, but it's somebody who's dear to me and is a reference, or maybe even a master that I'm not actually, the term doesn't fit to me to use, but it was really Marian. It was Marian Goodman. And she did sculpture my life.
Wow.
She changed me. And maybe right now I'm emotional because she just passed away, but and I was prepared for it. And even though you are prepared as an artist and you know this day will come, and it took a while, but it just hits in the middle of your heart. And she had a huge impact. Um,
How?
she was not an artist, but she, you know, when she was speaking about our art, or she was, first of all, she as a gallery, she offers you the deepest friendship that you can imagine, and in the same time, she gives a lot of space that you can improve yourself. You can shape yourself. But in that dialogue, the beauty was that I mean, we traveled a lot. We looked at art and we discussed art, and we went a lot to the opera. She loved the opera, and I remember she had a very little, like a tiny voice, and she always spoke. I know that you know her very well, and you have been with her a lot, right?
No, not so much, in fact.
And you remember like how she was this um, very discreet, but at home when she would listen to the opera, and she would then, or make this eggs in the morning, this beautiful slow eggs. She would sing her favorite opera, and that was Verdi's Nabucco, the, how do you say that in English?
Nabucco.
The chorus of
Ah,
the Hebrew slaves. And then her voice would go louder, and then she would switch on to pass on to Leonard Cohen's, and then to reggae, of course. And here and then she would find a spot a little in the corridor to dance. And before we go to see exhibitions together in Met or Whitney Warhol, or to go with me to see my own piece, my sculpture that I just had installed at the at MoMA. And she would smile so proudly, and I knew that everything that I had at the time was because of her.
And how did she notice your work?
It was in my exhibition at the Sculpture Center, and that was the first time she saw my work. And I think she had a long discussion with Susan Guess. You know Susan Guess, who was running this at the Renaissance Society for decades, and she showed everyone that we are know of, like from Bruce Nauman to Lawrence Wiener to Isa Gensken to Schutte, everybody that I'm aware like that has taught my like everything that I learned from art, she has already had shown, and they were very close friends. So that was my first entrance uh, to Marian, and then we start being in touch, and then my first exhibition started in New York, first in London, 2016, and then 2017 in New York.
Mm, okay. And in the show, one can see that you like the whisper better than anything evident in your work.
Um, yeah, because I think, being evident, I never thought of um, coming the place that I do, not only geographically, but how I think about the complication of understanding things. I don't believe that art is the object of art is made to be representational. There is a need for it, but not at least for not for me. Um, I have I've all been like even I could not imagine maybe that's the reason why my interest went towards the abstraction that I many times call it the ambivalent or ambiguous abstraction. I'm not talking to avoid, it's not a gestural idea of abstraction, but it's more about what cannot be seen and what should not be pushed to the front. Even when I think about walls that carry sculpture or carry a painting, I always feel for them as if they are representing, pushing something towards to be represented. So I'm more interested in the nuances of things. So I never misused the art to be explicit.
Yeah, but for example, the title of the exhibition, which is written, in fact, you can't read it.
Exactly.
You
The
wanted
nameless.
that, yes?
Exactly. And that you said that because you have seen the exhibition, and there is a paradox, something that is written that it's so explicitly open, it's nameless, but itself it's what would the nameless if it's already a title? It's already material. So when I'm using words as titles or sculptural forming, I'm interested in its materiality. I'm interested, and I know that it's not representing itself. So knowing that language is also just a material, words are material and they're malleable and they can be formed, and I only use them as as forms. So it could never, at least for myself, it would be never explicitly explained because it says nameless that represents namelessness.
And also, I think everything is written everywhere. Even if you go to the supermarket, you buy a mug and it's written mug on it. And so it's good to have this freedom and this mystery about looking at something and not to be able to read it. It's more mysterious.
Yeah, because then the idea of title makes also sense because we normally use titles if it's untitled that I'm not have I don't have a good relationship with untitled works because it means as if it would be as if there is a title missing. But I never believe that a title is representing the work. So if I believe that words are materials that I'm using, so they're almost cannot be representational for the work. You know,
And how do you choose your material, in fact? Because the material and the color are key things in your work also. There's a real paradox also about the material and about the colors.
I like the way you said there is a paradox and there is a contradiction in they don't fulfill each other's uh, uh, um, expectations or needs. So they stand for themselves, but there is a very symbiotic relationship to that. And there is actually no fixed procedure how I use materials, or there's no fixed strategies how I use certain things to make art. I'm surrounded by them, and I'm curious to know what materials are, and I'm not actually normally not repeat materials. I want to know that like there is no fetish how I enter the world of the materials. There is not something. There is no skilling and de-skilling. I just know how to do it, but it's not so much about fetishizing the process of it, fetishizing the materiality of it.
But
Uh,
you have a pardon.
the material is one part of the whole.
Sorry, you have a fetishization of paradox in a way, no?
I think it comes,
Paradox is in the center.
yeah, contradictions, paradox, but sometimes also they come to, yeah, at the end, yeah, maybe it's not, yeah. No, I live in a room. Maybe there is. I don't know if it's a fetish. If it becomes a fetish, then I have to rethink about it. As I
So
said, if things,
let's not make a theory.
yeah, but things come to a fixed position, I have to change the position. And
Yeah.
I think if I would have noticed myself, I'm getting too used to the paradox, I have to shift it.
Okay, so let's forget it because it's worked. And last question, what is your next project?
Um, the next project is actually the project with Chapochnikov, Alina Chapochnikov, Pavel Pus from the Walker Art Center, creating an exhibition of my work aligned with Chapochnikov for the museum in Warsaw, and that will be November. Uh,
Ah,
it's soon. And I'm very much looking forward because I have the feeling that his approach to Chapochnikov's works are a very different one that I was used to read. It's more the more dark works of Chapochnikov. It's not so much the pop elements of Chapochnikov that I also adore, like the lips and the breast on the plate. It's more the time after the um, Second World War and the results of the tumor and
mhm.
the body and how she got abstract and yeah, the tortured sculptures of
From Poland.
very dark colors.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm very much looking to that. It will be a
Oh,
lot about trauma and pain and to how to deal with it and how to survive, how the sculpture is capable of surviving all of that and moves forward.
merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a joy.
Bye bye.
Bye.